we had a very interesting week this week. I mean, I think, was it on Wednesday that we had the space run for close to 7 hours?
Yeah, it was it was on Wednesday. Yeah, I think it was on Wednesday. The maximum time, record time.
That's record time. But now, before, I think on average used to do about 4 hours and change. But I'm now seeing we are now averaging 5 hours.
Yes, yes.
If I digress a bit on this, who was I talking to about this? I don't know if I've spoken about this on this show, but the radio format, I feel, is changing.
Yes.
And particularly impacted by these new technologies that are coming, the likes of Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, and all these technologies that social media has enabled. I think if you look at the traditional radio format, it used to be, if you look at even our current, the likes of the Kiss FM, Classic 105 and others, they're still doing radio the old way. And I bet if you look at their listenership, it's actually plummeting, because I'm not seeing many of them adopt these new technologies effectively. And it's not just incorporating these new technologies, but it is also changing how they do radio. But because imagine, the most interesting thing that really captivated me with this Kibe Spaces is how you can keep people engaged for 4, 5, going on to 7 hours. And people could have still stuck on those 7 hours. Yeah. They just had to stop it. One, to allow him to sleep. Of course, even those people, some of them that are listening in, I'm sure they are working. So for people, but is able to engage people for this long. And there's no one time that we stop for either a commercial break to run an ad or an interlude to run some music. It's all content, and people are not dropping. If anything, people are joining in. People are fully engaged. They are listening in. They are participating. So it's not like some passive things that is just running in the background. You're keeping people engaged for this long. And I think this is what Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse is doing. I remember listening, and just to finish my submission here, I remember listening to Steve Harvey. He was being interviewed on a South African radio station a few years ago when he was promoting Family Feud Africa. And I remember when he was being interviewed, at some point, of course, you'll be told, oh, okay, we have to go into a commercial break. And you would tell the ladies, no, you guys are missing out. That's not content. If I want to listen to Burna Boy, I can listen to him on demand. I don't have to wait for an Afrobeats show on my local radio station to hear Burna Man. If I want to listen to some jazz, I don't have to wait for the local jazz show to hear jazz. I can go in on the internet and get that music. But what I cannot get is content, like the interviews that, the content of like Steve Harvey being interviewed. I remember hearing him mention that, because he said, this music, everyone has it. It's available. It's no longer, you're not the only radio station offering. Yes. So it's no longer a unique, if you think of Kenya, the likes of Capital FM, I think used to have very unique music. So if you needed to listen to unique music, you'd tune in to Capital FM. Radio stations would typically be the ones telling you some of the newer music that has come in and the like. But now that with the internet, they are not my first point of receiving that. So the only thing that would differentiate them is the content that they offer by way of interviews, engaging discussions, and the like. And I think this is what the likes of Kibe, leveraging technologies as Twitter spaces, are doing. And they're on the cutting edge. They're on the cutting edge. And this is what is going to change the radio format as we know it now. And those that are not jumping on to this format will suffer the consequences of losing listenership, losing, of course, the advertising dollars that they get. Sorry, that was my submission on that. I don't know what's your take on it. I think I've rambled down a bit on that.
It is some kind of little disruption to radio, because as you said, people can now access music through many platforms. And the next thing is people are looking at discussions that are kind of not having limitation and boundaries due to time. You know, where you cannot discuss exhaustively and where you do not have various people participating. Radio also kind of limited participation in that you had to be someone who is well known within the society kind of thing for you to be able to access the radio to do your discussion. But what Twitter Spaces is doing is that it's providing a voice to everyone. You don't have to be known, you know, you don't have to be famous, you know, you don't have to be an influencer. As long as you have that opportunity and you can be able to voice out your views, then you get to have the opportunity. And then this lack of interruption is also kind of drawing people in, because you can almost talk to a point of either consensus or conclusion